Can you share the story with us, how you landed the job with Dean Graziosi?
Yeah. So long story short, I was working as a door-to-door sales rep in Yorba Linda, California. And prior to that, I stumbled across Dean listening to Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness podcast. And he was interviewing Dean, and I really resonated with Dean's message at that time. I ended up ordering the book off a Facebook ad, Millionaire Success Habits. I read that book in full. The 7 levels deep exercise in that book changed my life. And then I went out to Yorba Linda from Arizona to do door-to-door sales. And about 4 months in or so, during that summer of doing sales, I just wasn't fulfilled, felt purposeless, didn't know where I was going with my life. And then I remember seeing that book on the counter, and I immediately ran over to that book and had the idea to email them and go work for Dean. And so I emailed, I used a plugin on Google Chrome called emailhunter.io. And I went to deangraziosi.com, scraped all the emails. Subject line was like, Dean, thank you for everything, or something like that. I don't know what it was. The copy was like, here's who I am. Here's what I'm doing. I don't know if you're hiring or not, but I'm going to keep following up with you until I get an interview. The next day, I got a reply back from Jaime, who was his right-hand CEO at the time, saying, hey, crazy, you emailed us. We're looking for someone to help us with digital marketing. Can you come in for an interview tomorrow? And so in that email, I did lie, I will admit, and said that I was already in Scottsdale because I knew if I said California, they probably wouldn't take me seriously. So I said, yeah, I can do that. And then I ended up quitting my job that night, packing my bags that night, and then driving out the next morning for the interview. And I got the job.
Damn, simple as.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You saw the book and you're like, I want to work for Dean. What were you expecting at the time? Or it's like, how did that, like, were you thinking of like, oh, like I'm trying to find a mentor?
Yeah. This is a great question, by the way. There's a lot of layers to this, but prior to doing that, I had already been in search of a mentor, and I was almost like trying to crack that code. How can I find a mentor? Who's the mentor I can work underneath and learn from? Because when I first heard of Dean on that School of Greatness podcast, I was doing cold call sales. And I was working for a startup company called ZenReach and just cold calling about 100 businesses a day, trying to sell them on the smart Wi-Fi technology. And I was already trying to learn from somebody, and I just didn't know who or how. And then when I was doing door-to-door sales in California, I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, which was building my own brand, my own business, online marketing, right? Because that's what I knew was the future. And that's what ultimately led me to seeing the book, like really one night when I was just in my own head about things. And this was about 2 weeks of just like, screwing around and in my own negative self-talk and everything. And anyways, I saw that book on the counter by my laptop, and I had the idea. I was like, why don't I just go work for Dean? He has an online business. He's great at marketing. He sells personal development information and products. I bought his book. I love his book. He has the same business model that I kind of want to have. And then I was like, he's in Scottsdale, right? And I went to Arizona State University. I was already in Arizona before, but I was just in Yorba Linda at that time. So I was like, what's the worst that happens, right? Like, I go out for the interview. They say no. Okay, well, I'll figure it out from there. I knew I was going to get the job, though. I just had to go all in. So yeah, I think it was success. It was like that old quote where like, when preparation meets opportunity, because I was already prepared, and I obviously showed that by just going all in.
Most of the people I end up interviewing on this podcast that gravitate to these behind the scenes careers have a very entrepreneurial tendency, right? And I think long term, like 5-10 years down the road after they land these positions, will or have ended up starting their companies. And so I'm curious, like, why not start the company before joining that position, right? And kind of, obviously it's played out well for you, right? So I want to hear, like, I want to kind of dive into that.
Yeah. So prior to working for Dean, I didn't really have a business already. So the brand I was trying to build and eventually start a business was like my personal brand. And at that time, I was really just on YouTube, posting fitness content about my personal fitness transformation journey, which we can talk about that too. But basically, I was just documenting my fitness journey on YouTube and posting vlogs. And so, I had really good social media skills. I knew social media in terms of YouTube and obviously how to do that just from my own trial and error and experience. And I built up a subscriber base of around 3,000 or 4,000 people subscribed to me personally, just from scratch. Like, no help from like friends or anything. I kept it a secret from all my friends and family because I didn't want them to hate on me, funny enough. But anyways, I used that to leverage the opportunity to work for Dean because I knew he wasn't doing anything on YouTube. He wasn't really doing much on social media. It was really just ads. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go learn from him because he has the business that I want. He has marketing. He knows sales. I have the background of social media. I have the vision of what I want to do, but it would be kind of stupid for me to take a longer time to do it on my own as opposed to going to learn from somebody who already's done it. And yeah, I guess it's kind of worked out, right? I worked for him for 3 years and now I've built adspend.com to 7 figures and it's just getting started.
So interesting that you mentioned the tool Hunter, right? Hunter.io.
It's called Hunter now, right?
Yeah, it used to be Email Hunter, right? Now it's Hunter.io. What was that email like? Can you break it down? And I'll include. I think you have a screenshot of like the first third of the email on Twitter.
I can share it if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so the subject line was Dean, this might seem crazy, ... Yeah, so it's a really good subject line. And you can see here I had a lot of the emails already from an older domain of theirs. But yeah, hey Dean, I hope you're having nothing short of a fantastic day so far. My name is Brian Moncada. I'm 23 years old. I recently graduated from Arizona State University last May in 2016. The reason I am reaching out to you via email is to thank you. Thank you for everything that you have contributed to the world through your amazing content by sharing your story to help others like myself. I remember driving to my sales job this last January and listening to a new Lewis Howes School of Greatness podcast that you were featured on. You were discussing your new book, Millionaire Success Habits. I instantly made a connection to what you were saying and shortly after ordered the book through your sales funnel. And so, yeah, point being is that I opened with compliment, personal story about myself, and then obviously giving credit to him about what he's done recently to make it relevant. Like, here's why I'm emailing you. I'm emailing you because I remember driving to my sales job and I was listening to this School of Greatness podcast, which you were on. I then ended up ordering your book. Your book helped change my life, which is all true. Like, this was all like from the heart. Like, I wrote this email in a matter of like maybe 30 minutes or less, probably even quicker than that. But yeah, it was compliment, personal story, adding value, and then subject line.
And then I'm guessing the last part of the email was pitch of like what you felt like you could offer.
Yeah, so after this part, right, I go into the reason why I'm emailing you is because I know here's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing door-to-door sales job. I know I can help you guys with digital, like with something. I don't know what it would be yet. And I linked my YouTube channel as well at the very bottom of the email signature with my social media. So they could go to my Instagram, they can go to my Twitter, they can go to my YouTube channel. And I told them, I was like, I've been doing YouTube. I can help you guys with YouTube, with social media. I don't know if you're hiring or not, but I'm going to keep following up with you until I do, right? And then that's when obviously Jeremy emailed me back on the team and shared with me his phone number so I could text him and set up an interview. And then I got the interview.
Nice, man. Will you change anything about that email if you're advising someone to reach out today, or would you just keep it like similar?
I'd keep it because it worked. I think it was also just the timing of it too, right? Like literally it was the perfect time to send that email. And yeah, maybe, the email experts out there who teach cold email would be like, oh dude, you jumped into your story too soon, or you should have done less copy. Like, fuck it, dude, it worked, bro. So like it is perfect timing. It worked and it converted. That's all I know.
Yeah, came from the heart is what I feel like was genuine. The other thing I want to highlight though is that you mentioned before, like, I knew I would get the job, right? I think you mentioned driving all the way to Arizona, right? You were in California at the time. I think there's something that people can learn about, like from that, of just like the conviction. And I think it's something that a lot of these people that are looking to fill these behind the scenes positions like really resonate with is it's just like that hunger, right? It's like, I just want to learn. I'm willing to do anything to bring you value and to kind of like get you results. Can you talk a little bit about that? And
yeah, I mean, it's really just as simple as you said it. I knew that this was an opportunity that could change my life and I treated it as such, right? So for example, when I quit my job doing solar that day, like a lot of people that were working for the company that were also, we were all living together, right? So it was like a house of 12 dudes, just like myself, 2 or 3 bunked to a room, waking up every single day and going door knocking together. So like a lot of them didn't understand what I was doing. They were like, you're going to go out there for the interview. Who is this guy? They'd never heard of him. I'm like, you guys just don't understand, because I knew. So anyways, when I say I knew I was going to get the job, is because I had the commitment already in my soul. Like I knew if they meet me and they talk to me, I'm going to get the job. That's how confident I was in myself.
You literally treated it like you already had gotten the job, right? Like you moved to Arizona basically with your car, all your stuff in your car.
Yeah. I remember in the room when I was telling one of the guys I was going to leave, and he still talks to me to this day. It's funny, we laugh about it, but he was like, why don't you just like go for the interview and then drive back and get your stuff if you get it. Like, don't, because what happens if you don't get it? I'm like, no, dude, you don't get it, dude. Like, you don't get it. And so, yeah, I mean, I packed up everything that I had, which I was living out of my car basically because I was living in Yorba Linda with just my personal belongings. So I packed up my clothes, you know, all my kitchen stuff, everything that I was using to move into that house to do door-to-door sales, packed it up in my car, drove out the next morning for 6 hours to Arizona. And yeah, during the interview, I was like, look, I'm the guy for this. Like, there was just no other option. And I told him, I was like, I'm here. I'm all in. My car's packed with my stuff. I drove out from California this morning for the interview. So like, let's do this. And yeah, they hired me.